Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be filming for you again. We are actually back in Canada, so we moved back to Canada about a month ago, but I have so many videos about New Zealand that I want to film that I had hoped to film in New Zealand and I just didn't get around to it. But I'm here now and I'm planning to still film them for you because I have had so many questions and so much engagement with my videos about New Zealand, so I really appreciate that, especially because I know I post very sporadically. But I wanted to answer one of the most popular questions in today's video. And that question is how to become a registered teacher in New Zealand as an international. What is the process like? What is the cost like? And what is the relocation grant about? For those of you who have heard about it or haven't heard about it, there is a relocation grant that you're eligible for. So without further ado, let's hop into it. I did make myself some notes to help to keep me on track. So that's what I'm referring to. So first of all, for context, I am Canadian. So this process was my experience as a Canadian teacher. I graduated in June of 2019 in Ontario. So I have my OCT, my Ontario College of Teachers certificate. I am qualified in the Junior Intermediate Division, which is grades 4 to 10 in Ontario. And prior to applying, I had one AQ, which is an additional qualification, and that was special education. I applied in 2019. So everything I'm talking about is my experience as a Canadian from Ontario applying in, let's say, July of 2019, including prices. And with all of that experience, I taught as a high school math teacher in Wellington, New Zealand for 2.5 years, and I loved it. So this was my process to get there, and I really hope you find it helpful if you're in the process of applying, which is so exciting for you. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that you can actually do this whole process by yourself without working with any sort of external company, or you can have support with it. We had support with it, so that's what I'm going to talk about, but I'll just preference this by saying as of right now, there's a massive shortage of teachers in New Zealand, and it's totally possible for you to find a job by yourself or to go over there and supply for a while. There's lots of supply work. Either way though, you do have to do all of these steps to get your registration, so this will be helpful for anyone in either position. So we decided to get some support. You do not have to go through a company that you have to pay for. There is a recruitment agency in New Zealand called Education Personnel. That is who we worked with. They are compensated, I believe, by the government. They are compensated. I think it's the government who pays them, but you do not have to pay them anything, and there is no contract with them. They don't take any money out of your pay. They're simply a resource to help New Zealand get more teachers in, and they were fantastic with helping us. So they are called Education Personnel. You can hop onto their website and you can take a look at them. They have lots of resources and lots of webinars that you can look at before you even chat with someone, and then you can chat with someone as well. Okay, so whether you choose to get some help with the process or not, I'm going to go through with you the documents that you need, the basic documents that you need. Of course, there's a lot of other little things that you probably want to organize for yourself when you get there, like finding a house and stuff. I'll do other videos about that. This is just the steps to get the documents you need to legally teach over there. Okay, so first of all, you need to have a CV. So this is the New Zealand version of a resume. You don't apply with a cover letter, you just do a longer CV. It's more personal than what we're used to in Ontario, and we had someone from EP help us with that. On that document, you normally put your teacher registration number. Before we had ours back and approved, we just put application in progress or something along those lines. So that's the first document you're definitely going to need to get done in order to be able to apply for jobs. Okay, so the second document is called an EC15 form, or at least that's what it was called when we were applying. And that is how you apply to the Teaching Council to get your registration number, so to get registered as a New Zealand teacher. So that's a form that you will have to fill out and submit, and you will have to provide supporting documents such as your certificates, what are they called? Your university degrees, and your transcripts, and a couple other things that will have to be certified. So that can be quite inexpensive. Sorry, just letting the dog out. There you go, buddy. You want to stay here? So that can add quite a bit of cost. The documents have to be certified by a lawyer or someone along those lines, but I will get into cost after. So document number 2 is your EC15 document, And that is your application to the Teaching Council to get your New Zealand teacher registration number. Document number 3 is your Novo Pay, I think it was called a T7. That is your salary assessment. So that is so that when you do get a job, they can start you at the appropriate spot on the salary grid based on your Canadian qualifications and your experience. So if you have a pre-recognized degree like we did, our Bachelor of Ed was actually from a recognized university, you may not have to go through that step, but we chose to because we also had a bachelor and honors bachelor, which bumps you up on the pay scale. So for us, even though that was also quite an expensive step, it bumped us up enough to make it worth it. And if you have any teaching experience, then you'll also get some like letters from your principal and stuff that can also bump you up on the scale. So far we've got document 1, which is your CV, which education personnel can help you with. Document 2, which is your application to the Teaching Council, and you can find more information about that on their website. Document 3 is your salary assessment through Novo Pay, which is not associated with the Teaching Council but is for teachers. And that salary assessment will determine what salary you get paid when you start in New Zealand, and you can also find more info on their website. Want to say hi? Say hi, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've never said that before, have we? Have we ever said that before? Say hi. Hi. I love you, Obi-Wan. Okay. And then document number 4 is your visa. So when you apply for your visa, you're obviously going to need to apply for a work visa if you want to be working as a teacher. So there are a bunch of different options that you can choose to do. Some of them have changed since we first applied due to COVID and due to the need they have for teachers. I will just say a lot of visas have a lot of extra paperwork that you have to do that can take quite a long time to actually get done. So even if you don't apply for your visa right away, it's a good idea to start doing some of the extra paperwork to make sure you have it. So that's quite a time balance. We applied for the 23-month working holiday visa. We ended up getting a full year extended on that just because we were in New Zealand during COVID. We used about 6 months of our extension. So we technically actually still have valid visas right now. Our visas required us to get immigration medicals, which were very expensive. So that was something we had to factor in time and money-wise. And you also want to consider when the right time to apply for your visa is, because visas have an entry period. So after you receive the visa, you have to enter. For ours, it was within 1 year. So you don't want to apply too early if you're not planning to actually go to New Zealand for a year and a half. But you also want to make sure you give yourself enough time to get your visa approved before you book your flights. And so that's like the last key step, which is very obvious. You need to fly to get there. So hopefully I've covered that in a way that's made sense. I have refilmed this 3 times to try to slow it down and simplify it. So I'll just do a quick review and then we'll get into how much these things cost me when I paid for them in 2019. So document 1, your CV. You can work with education personnel to apply for jobs, or you can do that by yourself. Document 2, which you have to apply and pay for, is Oscar, no barking, is your EC15 form, which is when you apply to the Teaching Council to get your registration. Document 3 is your Novo Pay T7 salary assessment. Document 4 is your visa with any associated paperwork. And then big thing number 5 is your flights. So let's get into costs. So I'm going to tell you the costs all in Canadian dollars. Some I paid for in Canadian, some I paid for in New Zealand. I converted them when I wrote this out, so I don't know if the exchange was the exact same in 2019, but it's approximate because costs have probably changed. So as of, let's say, between July 2019 and January 2020 when we flew out, so about 6 months, these were the costs we had. So cost number 1 that I wrote down was our flight. Our flight was $1,703.45 Canadian. We flew one way and we flew on January 7th. So we probably did pay a lot extra because it was around the holidays. Cost number 2 was our EC15 form. That was our application for our registration number with the Teaching Council. That was $302.57 New Zealand, which is approximately $242.87 Canadian. Document 3 was our Novo Pay T7 salary assessment form. That was really expensive. It was $746 New Zealand, which is $598.82 Canadian. But like I said, it bumped us up on the salary grid, so for us it was worth it. Our working holiday visa was $280 New Zealand, which is $224.76 Canadian. That is broken into, or that cost is made up of an application fee, an immigration levy, and an international visa levy. Our immigration medicals, which were a requirement to use the full 23 month of our visa, for my appointment with an approved physician, it was $200 Canadian, and I probably saw him for like 10 minutes. My blood work was $69.13 Canadian, and my chest x-ray was 70 cents. I wish. Was $70 Canadian, for a total cost for the medicals of $339.13 Canadian. So in total, for the paperwork, so for the EC-15, the salary assessment, the visa, and the medicals, so not including flights, my total was $1,405.58 Canadian. If we add the $1,700 for flights, the total was $3,109.03 Canadian. Now, those are the big costs. There's a lot of extra costs. So there's the lawyer's fees to certify your documents. So anything that you have to prove, like your teaching certificate, your transcript, your police check, anything like that, even if it's straight from the university, hasn't been opened, it still has to be opened and certified by a lawyer, justice of the peace, judge, etc. So that's extremely expensive. And in New Zealand, it's not, it's free. So I think they don't understand how much of a barrier that can be for people. I was really fortunate. I had a family friend who was able to certify my documents, and she did it for free. But had she not, I might not have done the salary assessment, because getting all the documents I needed certified would have made it so expensive. Anyways, that's something you have to consider. You've got to order the actual transcripts. That's about $15. You have to mail everything to New Zealand, so that cost me $30. You have to get, or you might want to get, flight insurance. So we got flight insurance for $73.55 Canadian. It's a requirement of your visa to get medical insurance. So for a year of traveler's medical, it cost us $832.50 Canadian. We both took 2 checked bags, checked suitcases. So for my extra bag, my one bag extra, my excess baggage fee was $240 Canadian. There's the Airbnb when you arrive. I mean, there's so many other things. The list could go on. I don't want to deter you. All I'm saying is, yes, with flights and the paperwork, it was $3,000 approximately dollars, but these extra costs alone are more than $1,000. I mean, the 1 year of travel insurance was almost $900 Canadian. I guess it was $832, but point being, there's a lot of unforeseen costs. So you have to be prepared to front those while you're applying. But then there is a relocation grant. So when we applied, each of us was eligible for $5,000 New Zealand of a relocation grant as part of their incentive to get teachers to New Zealand. So that helped. So you can't apply for it until you land, I don't think, or you have there's like a window in which you can apply for it, and you can submit anything that had to do with you moving. So it's very flexible. If you take a flight out to New Zealand first to scope out houses, and then you fly back, which because it's New Zealand, pretty much no one would do that, you can submit stuff like that. For us, so we each had $5,000, we each claimed our own flight, all the paperwork that we had to do to get there. So the EC-15, the NovoPay, we claimed the visa, we claimed the medicals, and then like I claimed the Airbnb, I claimed my medical insurance, I claimed my flight insurance, and then my partner would have claimed, like if I claimed the Airbnb, he would have claimed something else. So basically we went through it. We each claimed our own of like the massive things, and then with any extra space we had left, which wasn't much, we split what else we could claim. So both of us got the full $5,000, which was awesome, because obviously that was $10,000 back to us as a partnership, $5,000 each. So it helps immensely. It's really, really nice, but it doesn't happen right away. So you have to be prepared to front the costs and then to you have to save your receipts for everything. I gave them the most like detailed PDF file possible, so that there was no no questions about it, and it was just straightforward, and they could clearly see that, you know, I had kind of covered the full 5,000. Definitely I could have claimed more things if I had had more room in my claim. Like if the claim had been 7,000, I'm sure we could have claimed that as well, because you can claim new furniture, you can claim taxi rides, train rides to go find housing. Like there's a lot you could claim, but the flights and the forms eat up most of it. So yeah, I hope that that was helpful. I will link the websites down below that I've mentioned. So I'll link Education Personnel, I'll link the Teaching Council, I'll link the NovoPay website. And then I guess I could link Immigration New Zealand. That's pretty straightforward. And then obviously you buy your flights however you want to buy them. We flew Air New Zealand, which was a great experience. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to cover. Oh yes, I wanted to say that if you want to apply on your own, it's totally possible, especially if you want to supply. At least in Wellington, they are so desperate. So if you want to get there first and then apply for jobs, you could definitely start by relieving first. You approach the schools. There's none of this like number business where you have to be called and you know, like how they have seniority in Ontario. None of that shenanigans. You just approach the schools. If they need you, you book with them and you kind of manage it yourself. There's an app you can use, but you will get so much work, and then you'll find that you very quickly probably get offered full-time roles, or they ask you to apply. At least at the moment, at least in Wellington, there is a lot of work. So best of luck. I'm super happy to answer any questions that you have in the comments. If there's anything I didn't cover, I know it's a confusing process. It kind of makes sense when you finish it and you're like, oh, I wish I'd had that clarity when I was going through it, but stick with it. It can seem long and expensive and a bit boring, but it's totally worth it. So yeah, be in touch in the comments, and I'll be coming back with some other videos, but please request anything that you think would be helpful, because that will probably be what I do next. So have a great day. Bye.